There is a big problem with Apex's design philosophy that I don't think is being brought up enough. This core issue that rots seemingly every decision that is made from the team and will time and time again ruin the enjoyment of the good old Apex Legends for most, if not every user. And it's something that you see again and again and again in games as a service, but usually in MMORPGs like World of Warcraft that are based on grinding for whatever you want. And sometimes you might even see it in the first-person shooter or action games, but if you do, you rarely see it as cranked up to the degree that Apex is currently at. I'm talking about time investment. As I said previously, Apex has to be one of the most ridiculously time-intensive games once you start grinding for something that you want. Things start easy with some bot lobbies and training wheels as you learn how to play the game, but as you start learning how to play it, maybe even master a skill or two and improve at the game, you will find that many of the goals that you want to reach, such as cool animated badges, a high rank, or weapon masteries, are all locked behind this massive time-based wall. To make matters worse, in many of these cases, such as in ranked, time is not only an important factor into you actually getting what you want, in many of these cases, time is actually worth more than being good at what you do. As in, you can offset being mediocre at the game if you just put in enough hours and grind. Some of you guys might be aware of the grinds that I'm talking about, but just in case, I figured I should list all of the grinds that I'm aware of to give you a bigger picture and understanding of this very recurring problem. Starting from the very first insanely time-demanding grind, all the way back with the release of the Season 1 Battle Pass. That's right, we're going all the way back to 2019. Now, maxing out the Battle Pass on its own wasn't too ridiculous. Sure, it took quite a while to get the games in, but you were able to get it within a reasonable playtime with any decent gameplay results. But with the Battle Pass came free, unique animated badges, each one more ridiculous to earn than the last. The first one of these badges was, of course, the Glory Seeker badge. Like all of the free badges, it came in levels 1 through 5, where 5 was the animated version of the badge. And if you wanted to max out the badge, the game needed you to place in the top 5 of the game 50 times. And that wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the fact that you had to do this on 7 different legends. That's right, maxing out the badge, even if you played perfectly, would take 350 games. If we do some napkin math, not factoring in, time to load in, failed attempts, and other human factors, getting this badge would take you at least 90 hours of playtime on its own, and that might not sound like a lot, so just you wait, it gets worse. Because the Wild Frontier champion took this to the next level. While, yes, it required you to go through the same slog of 350 games as you play through every legend, getting into the top 5 wasn't enough. You had to win. Seeing as the average win rate, when you do quick math, has to be around 1%, you could only imagine how long this would take for the average player. And even a full pro team would take way more than those 350 games to actually get those wins in, so I can't even make a fair estimate of how long this badge would take. But it's safe to say, it's quite a lot longer than 90 hours. And then of course there's the worst challenge of them all. Partly because it took so long to pull off, but most importantly because your own skill had very little to do with it, if at all. The first tier of the bonus round required you to earn 250,000 Battle Pass points with 7 different legends, with the second tier requiring you to earn 250 Battle Pass points with 9 different legends. And no, these did not combine per legend, so if you wanted to max this badge out, you would need to grind a total of 2,250,000 Battle Pass points during a 90-day season. Now, this might not mean a lot, so one Redditor did the math and found that you would need 162 hours of survival time alone just to unlock the Tier 1 version, with roughly 23 hours and 8 minutes of survival time per legend. And again, I can't stress this enough, this is survival time. It doesn't affect dying, load times, menu times, spectating. And if we assume 1 minute of waste per 5 minutes of gameplay, you can expect to play the game for 250 hours in 1 season to reach the level 2 badge, which would require you to do about 2 hours and 44 minutes of grinding, not necessarily playing or enjoying the game, a day. And that's pretty crazy seeing as there are only 2160 hours in 90 days, and even with a conservative estimate, Respawn expected you to spend at least 500 hours grinding these challenges, because keep in mind, some of these challenges weren't even fun, because if you play to grind wins, top 5 finishes, or playing some obscure legends, you rarely find yourself having fun, especially when you're using about a third of your waking hours solely for grinding the game. How this made it past the design floor, I guess we'll never know. Again, all of these challenges were supposed to be during one season. Users only had 3 months to actually pull this off. Safe to say, not many did, as any of these badges are significantly rarer to see than any developer badge. You know, the one that only Respawn's own employees have access to. Now, admittedly, this was more or less Respawn's first attempt of a battle pass, and they seemed to shape up after missing the mark, as most of our battle passes afterwards were a lot more reasonable. But it definitely didn't shy away from time-intensive challenges just yet. Because in the next season, that being Season 2, we once again found ourselves in front of a grind-focused system. But instead of grinding for badges, or I guess who am I kidding, that's all people grind for anyways. Ranked, I'm talking about ranked. It shouldn't come as a surprise that Apex's rank system focuses on player retention and time spent over skill. Now, I'm not going to dive into every specific system, and we will have to do some broad generalizations here to save some time, because there are so many rank systems, but I am working on a video outlining all of the different rank systems that we have seen throughout the year, so make sure that you subscribe not to miss out on that. Every rank system seems to be built around the same fundamental point. The user needs to spend as much time as possible to get to the rank that they want. Most iterations of ranked has a kill cap to limit you from blazing through ranks if you are a lot better than your opponents. It doesn't match you in a good way, and due to the way the points are set up, basically guarantees you to move up in the ranks as long as you play passively and focus on staying alive instead of going for any wins, kills, or having fun, which allows non-deserving players to grind higher than they deserve, which in turn exacerbates the problem because the quality of the players in higher ranks erodes and just allows completely chaotic lobbies. It doesn't help that up until recently, every rank system had a split in the middle of the season, which didn't really serve any purpose except set you back. A split would put you back 2.5 tiers in your rank, for example, forcing Predator players to grind back to their rank, starting over from the middle of Platinum every 45 days. And the only reasonable explanation I can find is that they want players to keep playing, even if they hit their goal rank, through artificially taking it away from them and dangling that carrot in front of them to get them back into those ranked queues. Now, it's worth noting that the Season 17 system does seem to solve some of these issues, but it comes with a lot of issues on its own. Instead of the so-called ranked points, it has something called league points, which more or less feel like every game is about amassing as many points as possible with a super low entry fee of 35 LP across the board in any rank, and guaranteeing positive gains past the top 10 of every lobby, meaning players just have to keep grinding to keep gaining LP. This means that a bronze player theoretically could make it to master by playing extremely defensively, without much impact, solely throwing their time into the grinder, which is messed up if you ask me, but the largest problem is seen at the top of the ranked leaderboard, where the highest ranked players are amassing tens of thousands of LP a day, with some estimates expecting the Predator cutoff, as in the rank that you have to be a Predator by the end of the season, instead of a Master, being in the 500,000 LP mark by the end of the season. But as of recording, someone just hit 300,000, so it might be a lot higher. Some players are even expected to hit 1 million before the end of the season. Most of these grinders are not only expected to, but are pulling over 8 hours, maybe even 12 hours a day, just to stay relevant with a shiny Predator badge that doesn't mean anything. It's more than a full-time job at this point, without any real payoff. So not only is it a massive time commitment over a period of time, and if you try to go for Predator casually, I just feel like you're really wasting your time here, and there's definitely no point in grinding ranked as a streamer who does this as a job unless you can put in full time every single day. And despite the removal of the unique dive trails, the uptick in cheaters, and the general lack of faith in the rank system, this grind has become normalized and is enforced by almost every single streamer every single day. And at this rate, it probably has no chance of ever being adjusted into something that rewards skill more than time played, because the casuals get to master and have their participation trophy, which is really cool. The closest we had to a good system was Season 13, but the matchmaking was off from the get-go, and the casual community hated the lack of a time-based progression system so much that it almost killed the ranked population entirely. And I wish that ranked was the last time-intensive system in this video, but no. there is more. Before we go to a really crazy system, I do want to talk about the heirloom system. While I think it is good that Respawn raised the level cap to 2000 instead of 500, which means that you can actually earn 500 packs and thus an heirloom for free, I think that is a very good thing. It's very charitable of them to do that, but it is an insanely time-intensive grind. And going from level 1 to level 2000 is estimated to take over 1,000 hours of active playing time, staying alive. Now, obviously, you can learn how to cut that short, which I have covered on the channel, but it's safe to say that you can earn the money to buy the heirlooms during an event for a fraction of these hours. So they're really just making you work so much for that one free heirloom. It just makes you wonder if it really is worth it. And while some would consider that a bit of a stretch as far as time investment mechanics go, this one is far from a stretch, and honestly, it's getting kind of ridiculous. It's a long-awaited feature that was added in Season 17, and while it thankfully doesn't require you to spend a lot of your time over a set period of time, it's definitely far from a good use of your time if you try to actually go for it. And this is something that I even attempted to go for, until I realized that it wasn't worth it, and I stopped actively grinding for it. And of course, if you haven't followed so far, I'm talking about Weapon Mastery. Before the Weapon Mastery system, combined with the new rank that was released around the same time, I had been holding out, sort of hoping that the days of time-crunching features were far behind us, but oh boy, was I wrong. It's safe to say that the Weapon Mastery system once again asks for way too much. By getting kills, doing damage, and most importantly, holding a gun in your hands, you will slowly build up experience to level up your weapon from level 1 through level 100, with every level requiring you more experience than the last. Once you reach level 20, 40, 60, 80, and finally level 100, you will be issued with a challenge of varying severity, some of these being as egregious as hitting 5 skydiving enemies with a Kraber. And prior to the release of Weapon Mastery, Respawn's developers said that they expected it to take between 80 to 120 hours to level up one weapon to level 100. And many assumed that it was a conservative estimate, not factoring in skill, because obviously, but it's safe to say that we're still looking at an insanely long grind. If we split the line in the middle and assume it takes 100 hours of actual in-game playtime, again, not time spent per day, per weapon, that means that it will take about 2,900 hours to master every single weapon in Apex. And it's not like mastering a weapon unlocks anything good. It's just a weapon mastery badge, a weapon-specific kill tracker, and a base legendary weapon for the skin at level 100. Keep in mind, the skin is not a unique skin that you only get for mastering the gun. It's not a gold camo or diamond camo or anything like that, just a legendary skin you could have gotten any other way. To be fair though, spending all those 2,900 hours in mastering every single weapon will net you this cool animated banner. So I mean, that's totally worth it, right? And all in all, Apex is riddled with these time-wasting systems, and it really makes your intentions clear. Games nowadays are all about incentive and are about keeping the player hooked for as long as possible. All the investors and thus the higher-ups in these AAA companies care about is the game's stickiness and its retention, because the longer you can keep a player hooked and spending their precious hours in the game, the more likely they are to spend money. Get that green out, fill your servers up in order to make other players keep playing and spending money, and most importantly, not go to do it in your competitors' games. As for me, I'm not a fan of this. I realized it's not worth it, and I stopped throwing my own time and my life away on the ranked ladder probably years ago by now. And all things considered, I probably won't go for any other grinds anytime soon. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like, hit the subscribe, check out the video on the screen, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace out.